on, let's go, everyone.
Nice. Senna, now red in the face, turned away. Yo, dude. Yo, this is cute. I like this. When it came to taking commemorative photos. What the frick? How's it going, everybody? HoodlaMutt here, back with some more Chaos Head Noah. And last time, we found out that Demi really is an agent of some kind. She's working seemingly for Shogun. We just don't know who Shogun is truly working for. If he's himself, or maybe Nozomi, or maybe the thing inside our head, which is what I'm thinking. I don't know. But regardless, Demi wanted to off us. That's what it sounded like. So, but Shogun was keeping us alive. Aside from that, we got saved by someone named Kozupi, and that particular individual is actually Orihara Kozue, who calls herself Kozupi. And we also found out that it seems we can say concretely that mind reading is a thing, because we spent most of last episode doing that with Kozue. Talking back and forth in our head with her, and apparently inside her head she's really cutesy and likes to talk in a cutesy way, but when she tries to talk out loud, she can't do it. She's just too shy and embarrassed. So yeah, that's kind of where we're at. Oh, also we found out that she likes to kill things. That's another thing. And that was how apparently she found her D sword. So yeah, that's kind of where we left off, talking about some of that. So now, I don't know where we are, and I don't know who's speaking. So let's just get into this, shall we?
This sword is so scary.
That was what Orihara Kozue had thought before she came to Tokyo. But now it was different. Now it had become something very important. Something entirely irreplaceable to her.
This sword. If I have it, then I won't be afraid. This sword will protect me. This sword is my heart. Another me.
It had been about 3 weeks ago when she had first begun to think so. Ever since she was a child, Kozue had the ability to hear the inner voices present in other people's heads. As to when she had first become aware of it, she could no longer remember.
I must be crazy. I must be really sick.
These thoughts pervaded her mind as she sought to understand. Even though she was very young at the time, Kozue knew that her power was something no one could know about. Thus, she concealed it from her parents. Her powers rendered her unable to make friends, forged a rift between her and her family, and made the people around her think she was merely a girl with ridiculous intuition, one that gave them the creeps. Even when she came to Shibuya, she had still been afraid to go to school. She did not want to meet anyone new, nor talk to anyone. She thought that they would just be creeped out by her no matter what she did. She did not go to school on the day she was first supposed to, nor the next day, or even the day after, instead choosing to wander around Shibuya during the morning. There was no doubt that Kozue's parents had been notified by the school, as the staff must have noticed that Kozue had been absent without prior notice. And yet, her parents had said nothing to her. It would be understandable for people to mistake her for a middle school student, but unlike the countryside where she had used to reside, there was no one around to rebuke her as such when she walked the streets on weekday mornings. It had been several days since she had first begun wandering around Shibuya. In that time, she had found a place to relax, the stairs within the local loft. It had become routine for her to sit there and stare off into space. This routine remained true on that day as well, and after spending nearly 4 hours there, evening broke, and she left Roft to return home. Raindrops fell from the dark gray sky. Kozue did not have an umbrella, and yet, without looking up at the window, nor once fretting about getting wet, she timidly stepped out into the rain. At that very moment, something entered her field of view. Oh, what the frick? Okay, you're new. That kind of looks like... Doesn't that kind of look like an older Takumi? Kinda? What the heck? The world is ending. A sign with that message written upon it. Sodden by the rain, the handwriting had blurred. The person holding the sign was a lone, lifeless, homeless man, sitting on the side of the road under the pouring rain. His head hung downward so that none could see his face. Perhaps he was dead. That person, seeing him as though it were a mere image of herself sitting on the stairs, Kozue ceased her stride. Oh, look at her cute dress. For just a moment, she hesitated. He was a stranger, a homeless man she had never seen before coming to Tokyo. Just the mere sight of him brought a feeling of revulsion.
If I talk to him, what if something terrible happens to me?
Such anxieties pervaded Kozue's mind. But what was far stronger than that anxiety was Kozue's strong urge to kill the man. What? Why? It was an all too sudden impulse, one that struck Kozue with the feeling that, if she went through with it, she would be killing herself as well. And so, after hesitating for one moment longer, Kozue sent the man the voice of her heart.
The world is ending?
The man's shoulders twitched. He was not dead. Slowly, he raised his head. His cloudy eyes, peeking out from between sodden bangs, looked up at Kozue. Yes, it is. Kozue's eyes widened slightly in surprise. Not at the fact that he had just confirmed the world was ending, but that the man had replied at all. She had not been expecting a reply. The person to whom she would send her inner voice to would rarely respond well. Instead, they would face immense confusion, write it off as an auditory illusion, or shudder in terror before walking away with a hurried pace. Even if she did succeed in communicating with them, it was difficult for the other party to send back a reply in an orderly manner. People's thoughts were far too chaotic and disorderly. And yet, the man's expression did not change. He had simply answered Kozue's question with an incredibly short response. The heart Kozue felt through the man's voice was laden with a deep sadness. To her, it almost felt as if his heart was shedding tears. You possess a sword, don't you?
How do you know that?
Because I have known other children like you. What the frick? Kozue raised her hands above her head and withdrew her sword where she stood. She thrust the end of her blade toward the man.
Can you see this sword?
I cannot.
Okay, then how did you know?
Because I am a bad man. My apologies.
Why are you apologizing?
It's all my fault.
Why is it all your fault?
Because all I can do now is warn people. Because it has already begun. And there's nothing I can do to stop it.
Okay, so if Kozupi kills you, Kozupi'll become not so bad?
That sword can be used in a manner that will either kill you or protect you. Do you remember? Gaze upon the sky as the clouds float by. Gaze upon the river as it ebbs and flows. It should be there. It is just the same as this. The sword that has always been by your side. Gaze into your heart. And that is where the sword shall be.
But when Kozupi decided she wanted to kill you, it was right there in Kozupi's hand. Isn't this sword supposed to kill Kozupi and everything around Kozupi?
What? Wait, really? Wait, so when they use it, does it hurt them? Somehow? What? Negative emotions are not something to be repudiated. They are something we all possess. They are not particular to you, nor do they make you different. It is what you choose to do with them that counts. You mustn't deny who you are. The world is a mirror image. What is positive in your mind can simultaneously be negative. Wait, is that like the red and green button I've been pressing? So it's like positive and negative? And those are like two different ways you can see the situation, I guess? Okay. And the reverse is also true. The only people who can choose whether the world shall end or whether it shall continue on is all of you. In the end, Kozue had not killed the man. The urge had, for some reason or another, ceased to be as the man spoke to her. She did not expressly understand the meaning of the man's words, but even still, she thought long and hard before eventually arriving at a single conclusion.
This sword is me. If I look at it and don't deny it, it'll save me.
And for that reason, Kozue fully cast her faith in her sword. Huh. Okay. I tilted my head, having just listened to Kozupi's story. Who the heck was that man she'd kept talking about? The homeless guy carrying around a sign. Come to think of it, I felt like I'd seen him around a few times too. Was it the same guy? Right, because we saw him in the park, right? I believe it was Miyashita Park. True. Okay, well that tells us that she didn't kill him. But also, he's still there. What the heck? What I didn't get, though, was why some random bum knew so much about D-swords. Or was I the odd one out, Maybe D-swords were actually huge in Japanese pop culture, and I'd just been living under a rock or something. Fat chance. I glanced over at Kozupi. Her face was so calm and peaceful, it was hard to believe that she ever blurted out psycho things like wanting to kill people. She gently glided her fingers over the surface of her D-sword.
By the way, Z's, the homeless man told Kozupi a thing before he left. You are all special beings. And the most special among you is the boy who birthed whose eyes are those eyes.
What? Whoa, wait. So, if Shogun is in our head, he's technically the one that did it first, right? Right? I think he was the first one, but I still think he's in our head, so, like, that would be us, right? That'd be Takumi.
Or something along those lines.
I didn't know what to say. What the heck?
Huh? Nishijo-kun, do you know what it means?
Huh? Oh, not really.
Liesies! Nishijo-kun's heart tells the truth even if Nishijo himself doesn't. Right now, Nishijo-kun's thinking it's super important.
Oh, gosh darn it. This is exactly what I was talking about. It sucks trying to think when she's listening to every thought I have.
Your face has gotten kinda scary. Was whose eyes are those eyes first thought up by you, Nishijo-kun?
I bit my lip, then stood up. My nosebleed had stopped, so I pulled out the tissue crammed into my nose. Kozupi tilted her head as she looked up at me.
Where are you?
I'm going home.
What?
Interesting, though. Even though my sides were still killing me, I ignored the escalators and elevators and took the stairs down to the first floor instead. It was much easier to dodge the crowds and make my way outside that way. Teary-eyed, Kozupi timidly followed behind me.
Z's. Did Kozupi say something to make you mad?
I disregarded Kozupi's question. I was too focused on trying to sort out the thoughts in my head. That homeless guy she'd met. Could he have been one of Shogun's comrades? And what the heck was up with him mentioning whose eyes are those eyes? Who had he been talking about when he'd said, the boy who birthed, whose eyes are those eyes? Me? That couldn't be right. I wasn't even close to special. Being a hero just wasn't in my blood. I mean, I couldn't even get my hands on a freaking D-sword. I was just an average Joe, villager A, and I wouldn't have it any other way. Being special? No thanks, man. I'd rather not have another O-front breakdown in my lifetime. So that begged the question, who was that boy? I considered the real culprit behind the new-gen cases, Shogun. No way Shogun was anything other than an old man, but his voice and body made him seem like a kid more than anything. Pretty much everything about him screamed how abnormal he was, how he was someone special. 2 of the 6 current new-gen cases had whose eyes are those eyes appear at the scene of the crime in some capacity. I used that phrase quite a bit, but only ever in my own head. They barely even meant anything, so what the heck were they doing in all those places? Was there an actual reason hidden in there somewhere? One that would reveal why Shogun was so persistent in coming after me? Maybe the homeless guy had some clues I could work with. I imagined he was still somewhere in the city, carrying around his cryptic sign. I should look for him. So I look for him. Then what? I paused for a moment, then shook my head in denial of what I'd been thinking. What good would it do to look for him? It was a whole lot more likely to just put me in harm's way. For all I knew, that guy was one of Shogun's minions, only there to lure me into some horrifying trap. So if I just cruised my way over to the guy, there was a strong chance it would just trigger another quest. I didn't know if I could handle that. I was already sick to death of all the pain and terror I'd been going through lately. And my suspicions didn't end at the homeless guy. I was even suspicious of Kozupi. She didn't really have any reason to, and yet, she was speaking to me with her inner voice. Why was that? Had she been under orders by Shogun to approach me, just like Yua? With her really unsettling stance on both attempted and actual murder, it was very possible she was an accomplice in New Gen. After all the mayhem at O-Front, Thimi had just up and vanished, and I hadn't heard a word from her since. Then Ayase had been hospitalized after her attempted suicide. Nanami was fine, but the two people on my side had still completely disappeared on me. Was there any guarantee Thimi would ever come back? For starters, was she really just taking time off from school? Granted, I only knew that because Kozupi had told me. And I had no way of knowing if she was lying or not. All my hairs stood up on end, howling at me that something was off. In the end, me and my world were all too empty, hollow. There was nothing left to believe in. Nothing that didn't seem like a lie.
You're just being paranoid.
Kozupi was standing right behind me. Her inner voice was as carefree as always. Her brutal-looking D-sword sat comfortably in both her hands as she carried it around. Then, she cast an upward glance at me. I averted my eyes. Are you my ally? Or my enemy? Which is it? Did you come here to kill me?
Kozupi just...
Just? Just what? Kozupi suddenly yelped in excitement. Startled, my head jolted upward, only to realize it wasn't me she was looking at, nor the person she was waving to.
Senna-shan! Found you!
Oh, she's working with Senna! Dude, my trust for her immediately just jumped like 100%. Dude, Senna's the only person that I've really felt like was the most trustworthy up until now. And if she's working with Senna, that's gotta be a good thing, right? So, alright, okay. Senna-shan? Wait a second. Tracing the end of Kozupi's gaze, sure enough.
Kozue?
It was Aoi Senna, with a D-sword to her shoulder. As she walked toward us, her expression made it clear that her mood was just as sour as ever. I reflexively tensed up. What's Senna doing here? Is it just another coincidence? Or is it a calculated trap? Do these two know each other? If they did Kozupi call her here? Are the two of them here to kill me?
Kozupi's telling you. You're just being paranoid.
Yeah, but what's safe to believe in? Although it is true that, no matter how many times I've run into Senna, she's never tried to attack me. But that doesn't mean she's my ally. Besides, she's scary as crap.
Senna-shan's not scary. Why would you think that?
Hey! Kozupi, I could really go without the commentary.
Scary? What's that supposed to mean?
As I figured, Senna could hear Kozupi's inner voice too. Nothing. At all. Kozupi simply bathed in delight as I bumbled about. Facing the ground, she gently grasped the hem of Senna's clothes and smiled bashfully. The two were such an amazing combination. I felt stupid for getting so nervous. What the frick? Huh? They're just like sisters. One, the strong and firm older sister. The other, the younger, more timid sister who loves her sibling more than anything. And on top of that, both of them have small breasts. So mega freaking good job there, nature. Gosh dang it! Wait, crap! Chill out! What if Kozupi reads my mind again? If I'm not careful, I could easily die here. You probably should. You deserve it. How are those two related anyway? Are they classmates? Maybe not, since they're in different grades and all. Is there something connecting the sorts of people who have swords? Are the two of them Shogun's underlings? I put myself in the cat stance in case I had to escape at a moment's notice. What that specifically entailed was standing with my heels raised off the ground. That would allow me to speed away like a cat if the need arose. Maybe. I don't know. I'd seen it in some manga forever ago.
When Kozupi came to Tokyo, Senna-shan was her first frenzy. Right? Right-sies?
Rather than answering, Senna merely glared at me. I had figured she was about to lunge at me with that sword of hers, but that never happened. Calling her scary hadn't seemed to have ticked her off to that extent, at least.
Kozue, why are you with this guy? Takumi-shan is Kozupi's classmate.
Takumi-shan?
Takumi-shan can see Kozupi's sword too. I'm aware. This guy is a gigalomaniac.
Wait, what? Wait! Gigalomaniac? Wait. That's what freaking Nozomi talked about, right? They said like a gigalomaniac. No way, wait. I was right. Am I right? Are they using him? Does he have a modem somewhere? Isn't that what they were saying? That they would use people like him, or am I confusing that part with something else they said? Wait. Gigalo what now?
A gigalomaniac. That's someone who can see these swords. You're one of those, Takumi-shan.
A gigalomaniac? Who in the world decided to name it that? Given it has a name at all, then maybe these powers aren't all that uncommon?
Oh, Kozapi knows. You're on your way to go and buy Crunchy-kun, aren't you, Senna-shan? Well...
Yo, that's the first time we've ever seen her get embarrassed. What the frick? Yo, let's go. They're softening up. Think we're gonna have some friends here, maybe? I freaking knew I could trust Senna, dude. I just knew it. Like, deep in my soul, I knew it. I knew it. I mean, I'm still kind of being a little bit, like, jumping ahead of the gun just in case. But, you know, it feels pretty good, you know? Can't trust Dimi. Not sure if I can trust Ayase, but I can trust these two, it seems like. From the sounds of it, Kozapi had read Senna's mind. Speaking of, I'd seen Senna eating Crunchy-kuns in the past. With winter right around the corner, I wasn't sure why she'd be eating popsicles of all things. Guess she just really liked them.
Come on, let's go, everyone.
Nice. Announcing that with her inner voice, Kozapi clung to Senna and pulled her along.
Hurry up, Takumi-shan.
Oh, sorry, but I tried to turn her down so I could get out of there already, but... Kozapi started tearing up almost immediately. Her teary eyes looked up at me as she silently pleaded with me. On top of that, Senna was glaring at me like she was ready to rip my throat out with her teeth at any moment. Come along. I'll treat you too. It looked like Kozapi had scored a critical hit on Senna with her teary assault. Urging me to follow, I reluctantly trailed behind her, heading toward the convenience store right behind the police station. After buying each of us a Crunchy-kun, we sat near the handrails in front of the police station, nibbling away at them. Dude, this is like Kingdom Hearts! It's like freaking 365 over 2 days or whatever. It's even blue. The popsicle. While Kozapi looked delighted as could be, Senna's air of indifference remained the same. I was stressing out. The police were right there in the station in front of us. And yet, despite that, they paid no mind to the fact that two people with me were in utter violation of the Swords and Firearms Control Law. Dude, do you still not understand that you're the only one that can see the swords and no one else can? The police were supposed to police people. The girls were right in their line of sight, but they didn't even try to arrest them. In fact, they didn't even care enough to slap us with a warning.
Not gonna eat?
Now that Kozapi pointed it out, I just went screw it and started eating my Crunchy-kun. Though it was bothering me how people were staring. Though, I supposed that was only fair. Senna and Kozapi were cute as heck, and the very idea that two small-chested sisters like them were hanging out with an otaku freak like me, just sitting and eating Crunchy-kuns together out in the cold, well, it was all pretty absurd. Maybe I was overthinking it? I couldn't block out the snickering in my ears. Was I just hearing things? Was it another auditory illusion? Or was it just Kozapi laughing? I didn't want to stand out. I didn't want to be looked at. I was afraid of people gazing at me. I probably should have worn a hat. So this is still, like I said last time, this is cool because this should help him be able to open up. If as long as Kozapi's around him, she'll be able to hear his thoughts and then maybe be able to dissect what he's thinking and help him get out from his, like, one-track mind, you know what I mean? Of just, like, always worrying about everybody, right? She just was like, you're being paranoid, right? She's like his voice of reason inside of his head now that she can literally hear him and talk to him inside of his head. So, like, even this right now, she'll probably be able to thwart so that he won't feel so bad, right? Is like, everyone's watching me. She'll be like, who cares? Who cares if everyone's watching you, right? Maybe she won't, but I'm just saying, like, there's that ability now where before no one could hear his thoughts, so, or if they did, they didn't say anything, so he would just, you know, book it and try to get out of there. Although Demi did, but she's not good. She's not trying to help him, so it's different, you know? Seriously, I really wanted to get out of here this second. I continued hurriedly eating my crunchy-kun so I could leave already, and every bite left my body feeling even colder. This was gonna give me diarrhea real bad later. How are those two not freezing?
So, Kozue, why are you with this guy? Takumi-shan's name is Takumi-shan, not this guy. A whole bunches of baddies were picking on Takumi-shan, and he got pushed downsies. So, Kozupi nursed him right back to tip-top shape.
So, she'd been the one who'd looked after me?
Did you use your D-sword? Kozupi wanted to kill them all. Like bam, whack, boom!
Kozupi was attempting to gesture wildly in an attempt to explain how things went down. But since her left hand was busy holding her colossal D-sword, she was just waving the other around all spastically. Which, of course, was the same hand that held her crunchy-kun. She'd only taken a single bite of her crunchy-kun before launching it into the air with a perfect arc. The popsicle soared through the sky, before eventually landing smack dab in the middle of the road where it splattered to pieces. Kozupi was on the verge of tears as she stared at what remained of her popsicle.
I've told you before not to be so careless. Kozupi so sorry. Now the wasted food boogeyman is gonna come out. I meant your D-sword, not your popsicle.
Senna held out her half-eaten crunchy-kun to Kozupi, seemingly giving up what she had left. Still a bit teary-eyed, Kozupi smiled as she accepted the popsicle with a bow of her head. Aw, dude, wholesome! Frickin', that's cute as frick, dude. Color me surprised. I guess even Senna had her moments.
But, of course, Kozupi's got a punishment set up for all the baddies.
Speaking of those jerks, who exactly had turned them into mincemeat? Kozupi? Or me?
Takumi-shan! Senna-shan super really knows lots and lots. Senna-shan taught Kozupi that these thingies are called D-swords. And then about how to real flute, brute, Buddha?
Real boot.
Yeah.
The heck did that mean? I'd never heard of that before. That was just as cryptic as the giggle whatever thing from earlier.
Nobody else should have seen my sword because it wasn't rebooted, but Senna-shan totally saw it. Senna-shan was the first person I ever met who could see my D-sword. When that happened, Kozupi was all, no way! So Kozupi had to ask why she could see it. That's when Senna-shan told Kozupi it was 'cause of being a gigglomaniac.
Oh, wait, so we're all gigglomaniacs? So all of them are gigglomaniacs. Okay. Interesting. What even is a gigglomaniac?
Kozupi already told you. It's a someone who can see swords.
Okay. But it's gotta be someone who can do precognitive abilities or something, right? I forgot what Nozomi said about it. I'll have to look back at that or something to remember, because I can't remember. They mentioned it first. So, a bit more detail here. Like, how does that work?
One with the ability to interfere with the Dirac Sea. That is what a gigalomaniac is.
Rather than Kozupi, it was Senna who'd answered what was on my mind.
Uh-huh.
The Dirac Sea? Senna shot me a scornful glance as I tilted my head in puzzlement. The heck was that look for? Sure, I may look like an idiot, but I'm pretty darn smart when it comes down to it, you know? I was pretty sure the Dirac Sea was a concept relating to quantum mechanics. It's an unobservable interface, totally filled with negative energy. Or something, right?
A very rough idea of it, but yes. And the terminal for interfering with this interface is a D-sword. Think of it as a pipe whose end is stuck into the Dirac Sea.
Okay.
Considering how D-swords link directly to the Dirac Sea, they, too, are composed of negative matter. They are entities which infinitely collapse in upon themselves. This is why they are something of a delusion, one that ordinary people are unable to perceive. For these reasons, D-swords act as the shortcut to real booting. By expanding the channel between one's D-sword and the Dirac Sea, pair production occurs as per the whole theory in the Dirac equation, producing particles and antiparticles.
Frick, we're getting like into like science stuff now. I didn't think that was gonna ever happen in this game. Like, we were kind of touching on it just like slightly, but then it like kind of just, you know, with like the patent and all that. But like now we're like really getting into it. This is like I'm listening to freaking. This is like I'm freaking listening to Makasei Kudetsu all over again. You know what I mean? It's like, what the heck?
While these particles are the delusions created by gigalomaniacs, to the world, they are nothing but errors.
Okay.
For an error to become reality, one must produce and send these particles into another's dead spots.
Oh, the dead spots thing. Okay. So, one must produce and send these particles into another's dead spot. Okay.
The particles are then promptly converted into electrical signals, and through mutual recognition by surrounding observers, they become established as reality. Conversely, if one wishes to erase them, antiparticles are able to be sent into the dead spots where particles were previously reached, thus annihilating them both.
Okay. Right. I remembered Senna mentioning that before.
The mechanisms behind the world's functions can be explained by three numbers: 0, 1, and -1. A D-sword is a shortcut to produce the last of those, -1.
This was all giving me a headache. So, surrounding observers mutually recognize delusions as reality. But what does that actually mean?
Consider the crunchy-kun in your hand. What does it look like to you?
Like a blue popsicle, I guess.
Can you prove that this blue popsicle is truly real?
Yo, this is like the freaking, yeah, this is the whole, like, how, what is that? It's like an ancient theory or something, right? Which was it Socrates? I forget who said it. Or it was either Socrates or Aristotle who said I think, therefore I am. I believe that's Socrates. And so, I think that was him saying that's how he knew that he existed, was because he thought he couldn't find any actual true evidence to prove that anything he was seeing or reacting with in reality was actually real and the way that it actually was. You know, like kind of like what they're saying, anyone could see something a little bit different from somebody else. But if I remember correctly, if I'm not like messing with the two different concepts, maybe I thought it was Socrates who then came up with I think, therefore I am, to prove that that was how he knew that he actually existed and that he was actually real, because nothing else could prove it, only the fact that he could think, which is interesting, you know? I think that's how that went. I might be wrong on that story, though. Don't quote me on that. I mean, what else would it be? It was a crunchy-kun. Anyone with eyes could see that. And anyone with a mouth could feel how cold it was with every bite. I would think that would be a pretty obvious answer. Only once the brain comprehends what the eyes see does it acknowledge it as a blue popsicle. However, there is always the possibility of the brain subconsciously deceiving itself. Perhaps the brain produced a delusion and proceeded to convince itself of that. Then, how can you even prove what's real? If anyone outside of yourself observes that what you are holding is a blue popsicle, then mutual recognition will be attained between you all. It no longer remains as your solitary delusion. That's kind of fascinating. See, but like, how do they know that what my blue is actually blue, right? Like, what they're perceiving as blue could be actually red, and I'm just perceiving it as blue, right? So, like, what if what they're seeing is red from my perspective, and from my perspective, what I'm seeing is blue? How can you say that that's mutual recognition? How do you both know what blue actually is? How do you both know what a popsicle actually is, right? Does that not come into play too if you're trying to really get existential with what reality really is? I mean, if you're just going based off of, like what she's saying is mutual recognition, right? Based off of people's perceptions, then anyone could think like what I'm saying, the sky is blue, could be a completely different color to somebody else, right? So you can't like just with authority say that, well, two people agree on it, you know? I suppose the more people that agree on it, you could potentially say that maybe there's a little bit more weight, but the fact still remains that what if everyone is calling the thing that they're seeing blue, but it's not actually blue? You know what I mean? It's like everyone's seeing a different color, but we've all decided to call it blue because all of us, from our own personal perceptions, see that same color from our perception, right? So I see the sky as blue, so I'm always going to call it blue. Someone else, if they were seen from my perspective, would see it as red, let's say, right? But because we call that blue, their blue is my red, but we both call it blue. Does that make sense? So it's still not saying what reality truly is. It's just saying that we're dictating what to title something that we all perceive potentially a little bit differently, right? Something that we all potentially see a little differently. So it's like, I don't feel like that really solves the issue of trying to figure out what's real and what isn't.
To grasp the concept of turning delusions into reality, it needs to be approached paradoxically.
Okay.
To break it down then, a person's solitary delusion could become reality by forcibly showing it to someone. And this could be done by using particles created by a D-sword to attain mutual recognition. Or something along those lines. Then, did I have that power too?
Fumu. Kozapi doesn't get it at all. Anyway, Kozapi's sword is invisible to normal peoples.
Kozapi returned Senna's Crunchy-kun, then trotted back toward the road. Then, in front of all the people walking along the road, for some inexplicable reason, she suddenly began whirling around her D-sword wildly.
Don't! I shielded my eyes. So those were her true colors. In the end, she was nothing more than a homicidal maniac. Any second now, the road would become a sea of blood. Anyone crossing paths with that colossal blade would have their body torn to pieces. With a police station right in front of us, they'd catch her in the act. It would be an open and shut case.
Takumi-san, it is not like that. Don't you see?
Why was it so quiet? A whole crowd had just gotten mowed down by her sword in broad daylight, right here in the heart of Shibuya. And yet, there hadn't even been a single scream. The cops hadn't even intervened. I slowly uncovered my eyes. Nothing had happened. Nothing at all. Kozupi, looking a tad embarrassed, was still brandishing her colossal sword. You would think the sword would have struck anyone nearby, or maybe some railing, or even the ground. But no, not a thing was damaged. If anything, the sword was passing right through everything, as if everything else was an illusion. Interesting. Wait a second. Actually, I had that backward. It was the sword that lacked substance. The people walking around us weren't bothered in the slightest. They couldn't see the sword.
Ding, ding, ding. These swords are delusionary swords.
Ayase had said something along those lines. That the swords could only be seen by those who possessed the power. Standing next to me, Senna let out an exhausted sigh before taking another bite of her crunchy kun.
Right now, Kozue's D-sword is simply an error she created. It has yet to attain mutual recognition.
If Kozupi real booted it, then it would be visible to everyone.
Real booting. That would mean sending particles into the dead spots of surrounding observers, yeah? Not that I knew what the heck a dead spot even was.
It lets Kozupi slishy slash and smashy crash.
Can you please explain with anything other than sound effects? Still, I think I got the picture. Slishy slash was probably for cutting, and smashy crash was for hitting. What was this girl going around cutting and hitting? Did Kozupi seriously do such horrifying stuff like that? And what about me? Did I have the power to do that too? No. I wasn't special. I wasn't a gigalomaniac. And in the end, I hadn't even been able to obtain a D-sword.
But Takumi-san saw Takumi-san's sword, right? You'll get it real soon, Takumi-san. Kozupi knows it.
I'm telling you, it's no good. Even back at O-Front, it just didn't work. Sure, I did see a sword there, but I had zero clue how to actually grab it.
Well, I'm sure if Takumi-san asks how to get it.
Kozupi peered at Senna, as if to urge her to do something. Senna let out another sigh.
As biorhythms climb, the neurons in the midbrain limbic system excessively secrete dopamine, and one's D-sword appears. Depending on the person, this could come from feeling threatened, excited, sad, hateful, or happy. The higher the amount of dopamine secreted, the easier it becomes to observe.
There you go, Z's, Takumi-san.
It was just absurd how wide Senna's knowledge was. She might very well be an outright genius. This game's cut its. I mean, with explanations this detailed, you'd think she majored in what the heck is that word? Giggleomanicology, if that was even a thing. For starters, I couldn't imagine there being any other girl in all of Japan who could spout theories and jargon off the top of their head to this degree. Where on God's green earth had she studied literally all of that? What was with all the mysterious characters accumulating around me? I was dying for an answer. Thinking about it all just wore me out. It sucked only half understanding what was going on. But I didn't have the strength to look into it myself. Because none of these people were normal in the slightest. Grappling with those feelings of bitterness, I took one last bite of my thawing crunchy kun. Oh, I won. It said win on what was visible of the stick. Kozupi came back and peered into my hand.
Wowsies, Takumi-san.
Lucky jerk.
Oh, Senna-san, you're just jealous because you wanted to win these too.
Who says I care?
I doubted Kozupi could be so easily fooled here, given her ability to read everything on someone's mind.
Senna-san, you always eat crunchy kuns all super duper excited to see if you're a winner. And how many times have you won?
I have a win rate of 13.7%.
She really had this stuff down to a science. Did she calculate all that every time she ate one? Finishing her crunchy kun as well, she gave the leftover stick a quick glare, only to let out a quiet snort. She must have lost. Or at least, her face made it look that way. Okay, alright. Hey, if you want mine, here. Okay, I don't think this is, certainly can't do the good one, not after the way he's been talking, can't do the positive one. Negative one, I don't think is necessary, so we're just gonna stay neutral again. I timidly held out my winning stick.
I have no intention of accepting handouts. I'm merely experimenting with my own possibilities.
But Senna-san's heart says she really wants it, you know?
You can have it. I don't eat a whole lot of popsicles.
I refuse.
She'd shot me down in less than a second. Fine. I see how it is. She was the type of witch who liked to spit on other people's kindness. Or could it just be the general jerkiness of a tsundere? Acting like that IRL wasn't moe at all.
Okay, then. How about this, Senna-san? Takumi-san will give you the winning stick if Senna-san says the Shibuyan magic words that Senna-san and Kozupi studied the other day.
I said I don't want it.
Oh, come on, just do it. Say the thing Senna-san's supposed to say when she's having fun. Now that I think about it, I'm, like, having so much super duper ultra fun that it's crazy. Like, wowie zowie. Very good.
What kind of DQN Gyaru language was this? She'd even mixed in some words that had fallen out of usage several years ago. So they'd been studying that? It had hurt to listen to, but in a way, It was actually kind of charming.
It's so Senna-chan and Kozupi can fit right in Shibuya. Come on, Senna-chan.
I can't. Not here.
You can too.
No, I can't.
Dude, this is really cute. This is wholesome, dude. Oh my gosh. I'm glad that my two favorite characters are actually good guys too. They're like my two favorite characters in this now are freaking like actually nice. You got the really smart one and the really wholesome one, you know. And one's a tsundere, the other one, well, the other one's not really a tsundere. It's definitely more Mayuri. So it's like Mayuri and Kud. It's all over again, dude. Yo, let's go, baby.
Kozupi got teary-eyed once again as she stared unrelentingly at Senna. If she did that, Senna would have to. Now that you mention it, I'm having so much fun. It's insane. Like, wow. Very good.
Yo.
Senna-chan's still pausing a whole bunch.
Senna, now red in the face, turned away.
Yo, dude. Yo, this is cute. I like this.
I had borne witness to something truly precious. Something worlds away from the girl who'd gone on and on about unintelligible theories like they were nothing. Dere mode truly was the best. GJ, Kozupi. G freaking J. Thanks to you, I'd managed to catch a single, ephemeral glimpse of the true potential 3D still had to offer.
Gosh dang it. Oh my gosh, that's funny.
Anyway, with all that said and done, I handed over the winning stick to Senna. She accepted it with surprisingly little pushback. Don't expect a thank you. Upon saying that, she made a show of picking up and shouldering her D sword as she scowled at me, leading me to quickly look downward. I wasn't sure why she had to intimidate me like that, even though I'd just given her something. I really had no idea how to deal with her like this. I wish she'd just stay in Dere mode all the time. More importantly, you are...
Takumi-chan.
Takumi-chan, huh?
What? No.
You don't need the Shan part. What's your full name? I had a feeling I'd already told her my name before. She'd probably just forgotten it. Nishijo Takumi. Yeah, I think we did. I think he did say his name before, so that's interesting. Nishijo, then. Don't create any more errors than you already have. What?
But why not? The sword is your heart, and it's not smart to deny your heart. Kozupi was saved thanks to this sword, remember?
Saved? What had happened in Kozupi's past? This question tied in with her wish, too. The one where she'd said she'd wanted to kill. The act of turning a delusion into reality has its risks. Pair produced in tandem with particles are antiparticles, which stock up in the D-sword. Given, mathematically speaking, that antiparticles are that which approach the past.
Okay.
The larger the amount stocked up, the larger the Gigalomaniac's gap from their present state. And if not corrected, those contradictions will eventually lead toward one's self-collapse as an existence.
Interesting. So the more errors you create, it backfires on you then. That's got to be what she's meant. So that's why she didn't want us to keep doing it. So it wasn't because people would find us, it was because it would eventually kill us if we kept creating errors. So how do you get rid of the antiparticles then? Is there a way to disperse them again, you know? Because she's not saying don't create too many at once, she's saying don't keep making errors, right? Isn't that what she said? I think that's what she said. Hold on. Whoops, wrong button. Isn't that what she said? She said, hold on. She said, yeah, don't create any more errors than you already have. So that tells me then that it stockpiles, but you're not able to disperse them. Interesting. In Japanese, please.
So this means you too, Kozue. You need to stop using your D-sword so often. If you want to live a normal life, then you need to stop now. I'm warning you for a reason. This is a matter of life and death for you two.
It didn't look like Senna was joking. Then again, she wasn't the type to joke anyway.
Not to mention what you did, Nishijo-kun. You real booted without a D-sword. Something that shouldn't be fundamentally possible. The only way to interfere with the Dirac-C is through a D-sword. You aren't normal. It wouldn't surprise me if they have their eyes on you.
Who's they?
There are people out there that are trying to abuse the power of gigalomaniacs.
Do you mean Shogun?
I don't know. Who is that?
Kozapi. Did Senna just lie?
Noopsies.
Nishijo. Who is Shogun?
The sheer chill in her voice sent shivers down my spine. Naturally, I couldn't look her in the eye. She grabbed me by the chest, making it hard to breathe. Why didn't she have to be so violent? What had I even done wrong?
Are they a man around their 40s?
No, not at all. He's this tiny old guy. Senna immediately let go of me.
Is he a gigalomaniac as well?
I don't know. But he's the new gen culprit.
The culprit?
Senna placed her finger on her chin, then began to ponder something while remaining completely still. The air felt volatile. I was hit with a strange feeling of anxiety. Senna knew something. But what the heck did she know? Who were these people that were trying to abuse the power of gigalomaniacs?
Kozapi's got an idea. Kozapi's got an idea. How about the three of us all go take a picture together? Look, over there.
Suddenly, Kozue pointed to something as she spoke enthusiastically. She was pointing at the arcade next to the police station. When it came to taking commemorative photos. What the frick? I can't believe she actually went along with it, though. What the frick? Look at his face. This is the first time I think they actually showed his face, like, in full display. Oh my gosh, look at his face, yo. Oh my gosh. No. This was where it inevitably happened.
Takumi-san, come here. Get right in the middle.
No, wait,
Senna-shan, looking away is a no-no.
This is...
It's Kozupi's first time doing this. Kozupi's heart is going ba-dum like crazy.
Without once consulting us, Kozupi followed the instructions on the screen and pushed button after button. And before Senna and I could get ready, mentally and physically, a voice came from the screen.
Okay, say cheese. Click.
Gigglomaniac Trio! First timers, what the frick, yo. What a frickin' goofy image, dude. Oh my gosh. In the picture we had taken, neither of the D swords were visible.